Welcome. My name is Kelly.
And my name is Brynn.
And this is Fanimated, the animation fan podcast where we get a chance to geek out about our favorite animated media. And this is the Whatcha Watching episode where we talk about what we've been watching recently.
Yes.
But first, Brynn, I have a very important question that I just need to start with.
Yeah.
What's been making you happy recently?
Okay, so I'm a middle school art teacher, and I told my students that we were doing Pinktober, and I even gave them a little bit of the background of the pettiness of Pinktober. That like Jake Parker, there was Inktober, and Jake Parker was a bad person and got greedy and blah blah blah. So we're doing Pinktober, that everyone but Jake Parker is invited to. Yay, tea! Yay, pettiness! And so we've been doing Pinktober after school for the 15 minutes at 15 minutes after school every day that we have school, and I have had a lot of students come by and just draw with me, and we had our wrap-up party today where we played Halloween music and drew a monster with our feet.
Oh, how fun!
It was so good. It wasn't even my idea. I was like, yes, we're doing this now.
Yes.
And it just so uplifting and encouraging for everybody. And one of our, I think 2 days ago's prompt was happy, and I drew our Pinktober crew like on Google Meets, and they just make me so happy. And we're going to keep doing it on Mondays and Fridays. And I just, shout out to my Pinkies is what I'm calling them now. They don't know it, but I'm calling them that now.
Yes. I love that so much. I love how, you just have such a heart for your students, and it just makes me so happy, Brynn.
I love my students. What about you, Kelly, who helped me make a video for my students recently, actually?
Yeah.
As our guest illustrator.
Aw, thank you. Well, thank you for having me for that. That was fun. And just exciting to do new things, which is my thing. Lately I've been kind of down in the dumps, a little sad about life. And part of it for me, I don't know if people know the Strengths Finders, but one of my top 5 is learner. I just like to learn new things and do new things. And so, one of the things that it just feels refreshing, and it feels like I get to get out of my normal rut, and my normal day to day, which is oftentimes very soul draining,
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm learning something new. I'm on the worship team at my church, and now I'm also learning camera crew, which is something I've never done before. And it's very different, but it's not too challenging, but still seeing different side of things, and I don't know, it's my church is pretty big, so the worship team, the people on stage aren't always interacting a lot with the people behind the scenes backstage. And so I get to meet new people too, and just do something a little different and see things a little differently, a different perspective. And because of course we're doing all the live stream stuff now, as a lot of churches are doing. So
Right.
it's
safe.
It's safe, and I can learn something new. And honestly, it's not that hard. Just point a camera at Pastor Corver and call it a day.
But it's new, and it's stretching different muscles, and
yes.
There isn't a muscle memory there yet.
Exactly.
Which is really cool.
And I heard something recently that's you need to continue to be uncomfortable and learn and get outside of your box, and because that means you're growing, and that means you're living. Because if you're not growing, you're not living. And I was yeah, just you be uncomfortable. And so I'm really wanting to embrace that more, because I can, especially now that, 2020 pandemic, we're all quarantined, we're all doing the same thing over and over in the same places over and over. And it's
even more than before.
Even more than before. And I already struggled with this before all this. And now it's oh man, it's just the same thing. I need to free myself from this, continuous thing. So even if it's just going on a walk in a different neighborhood than normal or something, just I want to embrace new things, and that was my learning something new recently. So it just makes me happy.
That's really cool that you're making sure that you have variety and are doing things that make you happy, like learning.
Yeah. So I just wanted to start out that way because I don't know when people are listening to this next week. And I just hope that you are doing stuff that makes you happy and finding joyful things in your life and fulfilling things in your life.
Yeah.
Another thing that's made me happy recently is we did an episode on The Nightmare Before Christmas last week, which y'all can go listen to.
It was so good.
It was so much fun. We asked as well to our listeners, is The Nightmare Before Christmas a Christmas movie? Or is it not?
Yes. Yes. It is a Christmas movie.
And I say it's not a Christmas movie. It is very thematically a Halloween movie only.
Also, it's about finding the joy of Christmas and appreciating the joy of Christmas, right?
Well, regardless of regardless of what we think, I asked the listeners, and on Instagram at Fanimated Podcast, our poll, and the question again was, is The Nightmare Before Christmas a Christmas movie? And there was an option for yes and an option for no. And the poll came back, are you ready for this? 63% said The Nightmare Before Christmas is not a Christmas movie.
No, they're wrong. They're entitled to their wrong opinions.
The wrong opinion. I will say that 63% is not a huge win. It's not, I mean, it was pretty close. So I think it's pretty even. But that's also me, and I'm non-confrontational, and I want everyone to be happy. So I'm saying,
I wonder what the intersection of those who say Nightmare Before Christmas is a Christmas movie and those who say Die Hard is a Christmas movie. I wonder what the Venn diagram is for those two groups.
Right. Like, is it pretty similar?
Well, I say that Die Hard's a great Christmas movie.
I would disagree. So anyway, thank you everyone for voting. If you want to be voting on things like that, follow us on Instagram. And go listen to that episode if you haven't, because even though spooky season is over, it's never over.
It's never over.
It's never over. It's always spooky season. Now that we've gotten through all of that, Brynn, what you watching?
So I've been watching, first I want to say, Bofuri, which is, I don't want to get hurt, so I'll max out my defense.
Yes! I just finished watching it.
I haven't finished yet. Stefan Senpai recommended it to me and had messaged me and said that we should, do an episode on it. So thank you, Stefan, for that. I haven't finished it yet. I'm working on it.
Yes.
And it's exciting to know that you finished it, so no spoilers. But it's super cute. It's about a girl who kind of wanders into this almost beta phase of an RPG that's like virtual reality, and she maxes out her defense and just keeps bumbling into these OP power-ups by accident and just by like doing things to help her like gain defense. And it's so much fun. It's such a fun romp of an anime. And if you're a fan of like Log Horizon, this is a really good like cute Log Horizon sort of feel, except they're not stuck in the video game, which I think is a really unfortunately it's kind of a new twist. Usually people are stuck in a video game, and
right, or it's a complete isekai and they're like stuck in this other world. But this is like super low key, low stakes. They're just trying to have fun, and it's wonderful.
And it's so nice, and like it's just so good. Highly recommend.
For sure, I agree to that.
Yeah, and I just finished season 2 of Furuba, a Fruits Basket. And we like insider info, we actually recorded a Whatcha watchin', and mine didn't save. So my son didn't save.
This is our second time recording the Whatcha watchin'.
I'm actually kind of glad, because the first time I had only seen season 1. I just finished season 1, and I was like, oh well, Toru doesn't really change. She
Yeah.
has this, paragon is the new word that Nathan has taught us, of
Yes.
a character who's just always bubbly and always sunshiny. And then Kelly's like, re- really? And I
Wait
was
till
like,
season
okay,
two. She has issues.
let me look at season two. In season two, she's like, oh, trauma. And like she I would classify what she does as dissociation
I
when
would
she's like,
agree, for sure.
yeah, and because like some of that it's easier for her to shove it down and to block it away, and that is kind of really what dissociation is. And
Hmm.
you can force yourself into dissociation on purpose or on accident. And I think in season one we see her doing it, but we don't hear her thoughts of doing it. And in season two we definitely see her actively like shoving herself into dissociation, which was a lot. And so like I don't think that that is really spoilery, because we know at the beginning of season one that her mom died, and all of these things have happened to her in her life and everything, and she just keeps compounding it by putting it away and putting it away, not letting
Hmm.
herself mourn
Yeah.
or feel things. So, and only feel happy. Toxic positivity is what I would call that. Um,
She doesn't want to be a burden on others ever. Like she is always thinking about other people in a good way, but um it's so extreme that she's hurting herself in the process, and she's not letting
yeah.
herself, she's not taking her own advice type thing, where she's helping all of these
Mhm.
people through all of their traumas and all of their like PTSD, and then she's not dealing with her own.
Yeah, and it's a big thing of self-worth as well, and because she thinks that everybody else is worth more than she is, which is
Mm.
very common. And I can understand that.
Hmm.
And it's really good that they addressed it and that they're addressing it. Season three is going to come out next year, hopefully.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
And
it's already, but yeah,
the
it's
difference between the first original Faruba and this one is that this one made me want to go and read the manga to find out what happens next.
yes.
Like, and I did. I started reading. I didn't get too far, but like I started reading right where it overlaps. And I gotta
Hmm.
tell you, it is like word for word the manga to the anime. It
Yeah.
was impressive that it was beat for beat what was in the manga. I was like, man, well done for actually doing the thing.
Yes. Absolutely. So for those of you who don't know, Fruits Basket had an original anime, and Emma and I actually did an episode on it. You can listen to that in it was honestly one of our first. So definitely listen to that. And this is the
Mhm.
reboot, and it's kind of getting the Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood treatment, where they're redoing the entire story and focusing more on the manga story and following more closely. And Fruits Basket, I mean, if you've listened to this podcast, you've heard me talk about it in other Watch It Watchins. But it's about a girl named Toru that we're discussing here, who basically kind of just is living life with this other family, the Somas. But the Somas are cursed by the spirits of the Chinese zodiac. So a few of them turn into animals, the spirits of the Chinese
The
zodiac.
the
And
13 of them, yeah, that are cursed.
14 of them. Well, spoilers?
If you could, 13 animals.
Right. 13 animals. And
But they turn into those animals when they get either like flustered or overwhelmed
or
or hugged
sick.
by somebody of the opposite sex.
Yeah.
Uh,
And it's
so,
led them to a lot of really, I mean, all of them have crazy issues because of that, obviously, because
they're in an abusive family.
it's a very abusive
Woo!
family. There, I mean, trigger warning for like every kind of abuse.
Every kind of abuse.
It
Yeah.
can be really heavy at times. It's really joyful and hopeful. Ultimately, it's a joyful and hopeful story. But
Yeah.
it is dark at times, and
Yes. Very much.
it is one of those shows that is just such a deep part of like of me, and just I love it so dearly. Like especially this reboot, I'm just like Yuki. I am Yuki. Yuki is me. uh, and I love him so much.
Yeah, I obviously relate to Yuki in some ways, like the whole Rapunzel thing of being locked away and such. Like I totally get that, but I don't think I have a member of the Zodiac that I like cling to or that I identify
Hmm.
with super strongly.
Really?
But yeah, so I've been watching that, and then Owl House.
Owl House, guys. We have to talk about the Owl House because I've been talking about it forever, how it's on my watch list. I need to watch it. I know I'm going to love it. And Brynn was just like, no, Kelly, you have to watch it right now. And so we watched an episode. She forced me to watch an episode, and I'm so
I
grateful.
just happened to have you on video call, and we would just happen to be talking. I was like, oh, look, a pause in conversation. Let me put this on the screen.
And it worked. I watched the first episode and loved it. Obviously, I knew I would. I don't know why I waited so long. It's
So,
beautiful. I love it.
Owl House is about a middle school-ish girl named Luz Lucera, and she is a Latinx main character, and I believe it's been confirmed that she is queer. And this is really great because the way that Owl House came to be is that the creator told her roommate about her idea, and her roommate said, they'll never put that on TV. And she was like, watch me. So Owl House was made out of spite. But Luce is this classic quintessential middle schooler that has a YA book hugged to her chest at all times. And
Mm-hmm.
she stumbles into this, world of witches and such, the Boiling Isles, and gets taken under the wing of the Owl Lady. And she's supposed to be going to reality check camp because she's too much of an out of the box thinker and it's becoming destructive by accident, or so her mom is saying. And so instead of going to reality check camp, she is trying to be a witch's apprentice in the Boiling Isles. And it is, if Star versus the Forces of Evil is a rainbow cupcake with horror sprinkles, then the Owl House is a horror cupcake with rainbow icing and sprinkles.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yes, I would agree. It's very like just strange and odd and like kind of spooky, but it's like it's not scary. It's just kind of like the bizarre and the
Mm-hmm.
crazy. It's like a two-headed goat.
Bizarre is a really good word for it, and it's ways that they depict monsters you never would have thought of before. I think, like
Mm-hmm.
personally, they're just so out there and out like crazy.
Yeah, I love it. Well, I have a lot of things still that I want to talk about, but we've been chatting a while. So I'll just mention briefly. I finished watching Kipo season 3. I enjoyed it very much. You can hear our Kipo episode that we did a few weeks ago, and all the same things we talked about there still apply to season 3. It was so much fun, and very grateful for that show. I went to the movie theater for the first time since March, and I saw Lupin the Third, the First, which was a new CGI computer animated film.
Like I was saying, like tell us about the safety of the theater that you went to, because I know when you walk into a theater you're not quite sure what the safety levels are going to be, so tell us about your experience.
Well, I mean, to see international animated films, I have to drive an hour to an actual big city. So I booked my tickets in advance, and on the website they like had everything laid out of what they needed from us and what they do, what the staff do to make sure to everyone's safe. And so basically, you just wore a mask the whole time. And when I bought my tickets, they immediately reserved the 2 seats on either side of us, so that there would be 2 seats distance between any group of people. And actually, because Lupin the Third, I mean, is a very popular franchise, but is not quite as popular, especially in the midst of a pandemic. So there were only like 2 other groups there. So I felt very safe. I mean, it's a pretty big theater. And we all were wearing masks, and it was just super enjoyable. I mean, the movie was really fantastic and just fun and just a blast. It's very, I mean, just look up Lupin the Third. You won't be disappointed with whatever you find. And like, I was just happy to be in a movie theater again. Like, it's something that I really love, and I know not everyone does, but just like going to the theater. Like, yes, I love movies, and I love talking about movies and seeing movies, and I want to know the story, but also just like sitting in a theater, watching the trailers, like it's the part of the experience that I just love. And it was so, so wonderful to actually be in a theater again. So I'm hoping to at least go to the theater at least one more time to see Wolfwalkers when that comes out, and before the end of the year, So that was really fun as well. Of course, oh man, I have so many things I want to talk about, but I'm going to put everything else to the side because I know we've been talking a lot, and just talk about one more thing that's just like, this is very important to me personally, just because I'm a nerd. We're all nerds here.
Yeah, we are.
Guys, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity has a demo out right now.
Do they? I did not know that.
And I've been playing it, and I love it.
Yeah?
I love it so much, Brynn. I cannot even tell you how much I love this game. Like, okay, I mean, the Warriors games are basically, you just attack hordes of armies and bad guys. And so the gameplay is definitely a little different, and I was it took me a little bit to get used to it, but like, I'm just so happy to see these characters, and like, the story is so good, and it just like, it has story, like, this is not Breath of the Wild where it's like, there's no story. It's like
open world, period.
Right. Which I love, and I love Breath of the Wild. Is my favorite Legend of Zelda game. But you were creating story in a different way. You were creating your own story. And you can listen to me talk about that in our Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild episode. But this game is so fantastic because you actually get to see the characters interact, and like, because there's just so many story beats and elements, and I'm trying to be really careful only to play like one little bit every day, because I'm not exactly sure how far the demo goes, and I don't think it goes super far. So I know as soon as I hit that limit, I'm gonna just be like devastated until Christmas, basically, because...
Is it at Christmas that it's coming out?
It actually comes out the 20th of November. But I asked for it for Christmas, so I'm like, okay, I have to wait until Christmas.
Oh no! I mean, yes, but no.
I know. So yeah, it just makes me so happy, and it's so crazy how closely everything looks like like the actual Breath of the Wild game.
It's almost like it's made by the same people.
It's not, though. That's the thing.
Wait, really?
I
was being sarcastic.
Oh, no. Truly, like, the Warriors games are not made by Nintendo. But they, like, give out the IP for that. But for this one, they work closely with the Zelda team so that it's, like, the true canonical story. But it's still made by a completely different studio, and it looks so good, guys. It looks amazing. I mean, I'm just having a blast, and I can't even describe to you how much fun I'm having. And it just fills my heart, and it just makes me even more excited for Breath of the Wild 2. And it also has this, like, layer of, like, you're basically, you're pre-Breath of the Wild, you're fighting all the battles, and it's the prequel, so you know what happens. You know that everyone dies, but so you have that layer of, like, and they do such a good job with that information, like, as a storytelling way of, like, the audience already knows what's going to happen, and then they add those kind of layers in the story of like, you know, they're trying so hard and you just want to root for them, but you know they're not going to make it, and it's just like, oh, it hurts so much, and I love it.
That makes me think of Ico and the Shadow of the Colossus, because Ico is the middle of the trilogy that they made, and it was the first to come out, and it's about a boy who's under a curse. And if you go back to Shadow of the Colossus, which was the next one that they made, it's about the first it's basically about how the curse gets unlocked, except you're unlocking the curse. And it's much less story driven than what you're talking about, but like, because it's basically boss battles, the game. But it has that same feeling of, oh, I'm creating this storyline that I already know where it's going.
Yeah. And because Breath of the Wild was so like, it just open-ended, they didn't have a lot to dive into with the characters. Like this one dives so much, and you have so many more like moments with these characters interacting, and you're just like, Link and Zelda are so cute. So it just fills my soul.
So it might be worth, it's really good for the Breath of the Wild team to work so closely with them on that, because that sets up very nicely the release of Breath of the Wild 2, because people are going to want to play that, replay Breath of the Wild, and then go straight into Breath of the Wild 2 when it comes out.
Yeah. It truly, this game, I could talk about it forever, and I've only played like an hour of it, but like, it truly makes me it just gives so much more context and meaning to Breath of the Wild. Like, I can't wait to do exactly what you just said. Go and play Breath of the Wild again and go to these places and experience this world that I saw, you know, and was, everything was pristine, and like everything is like, you know, there are people living in the castle town, and there are, you know, and then going to Breath of the Wild and just seeing everything destroyed. Like, it adds such a layer to your Breath of the Wild experience, and I just
almost like Ocarina of Time when you fast forward and then suddenly the town is full of ghosts and you're like, ah,
and it just, that sinking heart feeling. Oh my goodness. Because like, obviously Breath of the Wild did a good job with that to begin with, but because you were just as clueless as Link was, it didn't have the same impact. And now it's going to be like, oh, you're going to know these characters so much more. You're going to, you know, recognize their sacrifices so much more. It's going to, and in general, I'm such a sap for these kind of time travel things where it's like, the audience knows something that the characters don't, and it makes it much more like heart tangy, and I love that. So anyway,
I can't wait to play this now.
I can't wait to play the rest of it, and like we'll see how long I can last just playing the demo. Who knows? Maybe I'll just keep playing the demo over and over.
Well, if you play the demo, then you can go back to Breath of the Wild.
That's true. That's true. So thank you so much, Brynn, for joining me for this Whatcha Watchin' episode. Let's go through our usual ending credits, shall we? Thank you, everyone, for listening. Remember that you can join the Fanimated crew and vote for upcoming episode topics by going to patreon.com/Fanimated. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Fanimated Podcast to stay up to date with all things animated. And don't forget to leave a rating and review telling us what you'd like us to watch next. The music is provided by Purple Planet Music. The art is done by myself. You can find me and all of my Zelda fan art on Instagram at CandorDraw. And thank you, Brynn, for just chatting with me today.
It's always good to chat with you.
Always.
As always, Black Lives Matter.
And stay tuned.
And stay animated.
Also, wow, you know, I just have a lot of things to say before we even get to the real question of the podcast. So I hope everyone enjoys this little side tangent that we're on. I also want to say that this is our 75th episode. So good job, us.
3/4 century or 3/4 centennial?
I have no idea. Sure.
Well, that would be years, though.
That would be years.
Episodes.
It's just episodes.
I don't know. Yay, happy 75th!
Happy 75th!
Woo!
And I do have something really fun planned for the 100th episode, so stay tuned for next spring when that happens.
Ooh. That's exciting.